And we're live. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Game Theory Gang with the validator himself, David Feeder, and from 1978 years in the future, K4K Crypto.
Why am I so far in the future?
4K.
The year 4000? You did the math? Okay.
I did.
Maddie did the math on stream. Didn't even prepare that.
Welcome,
right.
guys. It's
Awesome.
great for you to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is great to be here. Appreciate it. This is wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for hosting this, Maddie, on your channel. So if anyone gets banned, it's not one of us. Thank you.
Fair enough.
Hopefully.
I accept the risk because you two are awesome, and I'm excited to have you here. I think that, I think that there's a lot of content for us to cover when it comes to game theory. Personally, I think that game theory is the most important topic in cryptocurrency, and yet we don't talk about it very much. And so I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it stems into like literally everything is game theory. It's like, oh, if incentives aren't aligned, it's very unlikely someone's going to do something. Like, are you going to stab your arm? What's the benefit? Probably not going to do that. That's game theory.
Yeah.
Unless you're trapped and you have to chop it off to survive, and then that's
like
game
the movie
theory.
Saw.
That's game theory. That's optimal strategy right there.
Like
so it does depend on the situation for sure.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level.
But
how do you guys explain game theory to people?
What's up?
How do you guys explain game theory to people? What's your definition?
I mean, definition, I don't know. I just kind of, that's what I figured I should call the stuff that I was talking about when I started making videos. I was just going in depth into, well, these are the incentives in this structure, and they seem to be better than the incentives in this other structure because maybe it has less negative externality or something, and that should be better for price. It's also a lot of it's like theoretical. That's why it's game theory. Because like if you're at the edge of the field, if you're at the edge of the, I guess, discovery, you don't know how it's going to turn out. It's more like, well, this has worked in the past like this might be better. Let's try that. And then you have to see how it plays out. So like, it's not all set in stone. You try this and it's going to work. It's still theory. You're still trying it out. But I think it's just really fun because you're basically at the edge of everyone's knowledge in game theory land. So it's fun.
Yeah, humans are difficult to predict, aren't they? And when we look at game theory as a form of systems level psychology or systems level math, it actually spans into a lot of different fields. And so if you ask, one expert on game theory in a certain subfield what the definition is, they're going to give you a different answer than other people, and they're going to argue about it maybe for many episodes to come.
We'll never argue on this channel.
We'll have debates because game theory to me, like I know the actual like literal definition. If you just Google it, it says, oh, it's a mathematical way to break down the best strategy in a given system. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But what does that mean for an actual like player in a game? Like basically you want to, like basically statistically and based on what actions you can do in a game, like what's going to improve your chances to win, right? Like you want to win the game. You want to do the best. And Hex, that's what.
See, that's already an assumption. Money. What if I don't want to win the game? Then your strategy might not even be the best strategy.
Well, I think it does assume rational players.
So you have to throw in like it's rational players, and then that's already an assumption. So like there's so many things that you assume from like default behavior. So it really is like this huge math problem that everyone's like, I have an idea, but they got this amount of knowledge about everything, and you have to kind of extrapolate it into the whole void of this is all the real knowledge that it actually you have to know about, but you only know this much. So it gets a little fuzzy the more time you go out and the larger set you're playing in. If it's like a video game, it's like, oh, it's got these set of rules. But we're playing with like real life here. That just like there's stuff we still don't understand, like for sure.
And I would say, an example of that is when we're talking about defining game theory based on rational behavior. The definition that Google comes up with for those at home is game theory is the study of mathematical models of strategic interactions among rational agents. So the rational agents part is where they got to,
they baked that
get a
in
bunch
there.
of do-overs because it's like, well, is that rational? For
True.
example,
Yeah.
is saving rational? And the answer is so storing value over time, is that rational? The answer depends on the unit of exchange and whether it's being used as a good store of value, whether your store of value is being debased. So in a high inflationary environment, it's less rational to save for the future. You want to buy things at today's prices that are lower than tomorrow's prices are going to be. And so when economists assume, right, there was a Nobel Prize given to a couple of guys, Richard Thaler and his crony. They thought they were geniuses because they discovered that humans are irrational when it comes to savings. Well, maybe it's the system we're in that's irrational. Right?
What do you mean? Maybe it's like, oof.
Correct. Yeah.
Saving in any of these currencies over the past like several thousand years, they just get debased into nothing, and then a war happens, it all gets erased, and the next one comes up, and they're like, all right, we'll control the money again, guys. Don't worry. Oh, we're just gonna create more of it. We're gonna create more. You're creating more of it? We're creating even more of it. Okay, we're gonna need another war to fix this one, guys. This is gonna go to crap. So it just keeps happening. It's like every 100 years or so, too. Like with these currencies, terrible.
That's where they get the expression like cash is trash, because if you are holding Federal Reserve notes right now, you are losing to inflation. You would be better off buying something like Hex, which has increased 10,000x in the past 2 years. Even though we all know it's down right now, but even still, I would definitely say that if you stake it and even get your yield, you're looking at growing your position and not shrinking versus the dollar.
What are you, a paid shill?
No, just a hardcore fan. That's all.
He's actually an undercover agent for the Federal Reserve. Half of his name is Feder, so
yes.
He's got like the bank computer behind him. You can see.
I was gonna say I am competing with them. These are the validators right here behind me. You guys can see. Got the failover cluster is churning away.
Are those an actual picture of your location where you keep your servers? That seems like a lot more than necessary.
Yeah, no,
no way
I grabbed
that's
this off Google. Yeah, this is just
okay.
background.
I was gonna say, like, dude, that's way overkill.
Yeah, in reality,
one of those
it's just
is
a couple
pets.com. One of them is Target.
Yeah. Actually, those racks, these are like called IT racks. In reality, for a validator, you only need a half of one. A half rack is plenty. It holds all the equipment.
Nice. That's pretty sweet. I forget what your main question was, Maddie. What was it?
Well, we're doing an introduction to what is game theory, and we're discovering that part of the definition, being able to predict rational behavior, being able to predict behavior in rational instances, is really context specific. It depends on the environment. In this case, we're talking about the monetary environment. Of course, Hex gives a pretty good example of something where you're taking the inflation and giving it to people who are more long-term minded, who might be, enticed to do proof of stake things like sacrifice for the community or be altruistic. These are behaviors that I would expect from a system that incentivizes long-term thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of Richard wasn't kidding when he was saying dips are in the game, because we're having another one right now. Everyone wants to talk about the price and stuff, and then when price starts going up, people just forget the dips ever happened. They're like, "Oh, you didn't do anything. You just bought it." It's like, yeah, dude, you remember those dips though? Nobody remembers the dips. It's crazy.
How quick they forget. It's like Dory from Finding Nemo. It takes 3 seconds with a green candle, and poof, you forgot the past 6 months of down.
All the
So
haters
totally.
are gone. They're just
Yep.
absent. You're just like, oh,
Yep.
where'd they go? Guess back to the other.
Twitter's a party again. Everybody's having fun. It's dank memes all day. Oh yeah, it turns
Hey,
around on a
if
dime.
you want to buy lower, fudding is game theoretically positive for you. So you fud the bag, then you buy lower. So don't play into that. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're holding it for years. Say you're staked 100% anyway. It doesn't matter what the price is until you're unstaked, right? So
Exactly.
it,
Yeah.
it honestly is so much peace of mind. That's my favorite part, probably about Hex, is the peace of mind, because you still feel like you're getting something while you're waiting anyway. It doesn't feel like you have dormant capital, even if it is like an illusion, because you're not really getting that much. You're getting some interest. It's pretty good, but it'd just be cooler if the price was up all the time. But we know that's not how it's going to be. We got these cycles, people taking profit, stuff around the world happening. It's serious liquidity crisis going on out there. So people are just kind of clawing back any resources they can. Of course, it's going to hit the crypto market. It's very liquid. It's like, oh, we're just going to crash 80%, guys. I'm surprised we didn't crash more with what's going on. Maybe there's more to come, because there's people like having a very bad time. Like, we're talking about crypto. We are privileged to do so. There's some people who are like, yo, dude, where's the bread at? Like, I need some food.
Sure.
I live in Russia. Like, we have all these like sanctions against us. I can't imagine what their prices look like. I don't even know. It's probably terrible over there. So I'm hoping we get to see a quick resolve or some sort of peace treaty or something. I don't know the geopolitical atmosphere at all, but I'm hoping it's over fast, not this long drawn out horrible thing for everyone, getting all these other countries roped in. I don't want to talk about the war the whole time, but it's just, we're lucky to be in crypto, which actually surprised me. It seems to be tied to like all of our human rights in a way. I did not expect that when I got into crypto. Like, it actually empowers people to actually be able to use all of their rights that we have in, like, at least America. If you can't transact, but you don't really have any rights, you can't go express them, like Richard says. And crypto actually allows that. Can't be turned off. It's like, wow, what an innovation. I'm so excited to be a part of this versus any other industry that is attached to the old legacy system and can just shut off all of the work you worked hard for. It's like, oh, well, you didn't put your profits into crypto, you can just be turned off. Oh, well, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well said.
I feel very blessed. I'm very grateful to this community, to Richard, to Hex, to the game theory that allows it all to operate. Like, what an awesome place, that Hexicans are in the world right now. And, at the same time, it's like, maybe it's not our responsibility, but I see a huge opportunity to bring that to more people. And I'm excited about all the different discussions that we'll have on the, on the show. Kind of being able to challenge certain assumptions of society, of psychology, and crypto. And with that being said, I wanted to see if it'd be okay with you guys if I give an example of where game theory can go right and where it can go wrong.
Interesting. Yeah, tell me to go wronger.
So what I've learned in my probably, well, it's thousands of hours of thinking about crypto and Hex and all the game theory and psychology behind it. One hot take that I've had recently is timing matters about when you say things publicly and when you don't. So, for example, I was on this show called Quant Gang. It was so much fun. It was a blast, and we'd get together, Kareem and Wells and I, and we'd sit around and make predictions on the air.
That's dangerous.
About anything that came up, hours and hours of it, right? But we were kind of in it for the bragging rights too, and so we didn't scatter our predictions everywhere, and I ended up being the one who predicted ahead of time, when nobody else was really thinking it, that the OA would sacrifice for Pulse. Now, I didn't say anything publicly about this for multiple weeks. And the reason why is because I had insider knowledge that a certain whale named Rackham Rochelle had been going around donating $500 to people's channels, inviting them into Telegram chats that were semi-private, and encouraging them to, to advocate to Richard, make the price, the starting price of Pulse, the sacrifice price, as low as possible. Right? And other broadcasters at the time would certainly remember this. So one of his points was that if the dilution or like the deal wasn't to his liking, that he would not put millions in, that he would walk away from the deal of being a sacrificer for Pulse. And so
that would have been a huge mistake for him. Holy moly.
I know, I wish he didn't.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, you could have made our bags bigger proportionally, sir.
So I intentionally did not explain to him or the public at the time that I saw it as highly likely that the OA would sacrifice. I waited until after the whales got in to make the prediction publicly. And that was a piece of game theory that I think played out to be so important with the timing, because it turned out that I could deduce that this whale in particular, said that he wouldn't get in, if he was highly diluted. And then to his surprise, he got highly diluted. And yet you could tell that this was something that ended up being a good thing for the whale, because the whale sacrificed even more for Pulse X. So the whale was okay with being diluted once they understood the ecosystem and the fact that really Richard wasn't just somebody who's going to pull the rug out from under you.
I mean, he's in Hex, right? He must understand that he's not going to ever be the biggest whale in Hex ever, or any Richard Hart project. So I don't know what he was talking about, trying to not get diluted. Like, there wasn't going to be an address who may have helped the development of the project getting a large portion. So that seems so silly. Like, I don't know if he's doing some game theory thing himself,
Well,
like just flooding.
That's how the venture capital world works. You go in and you negotiate with the founders and you say, give me more. I will fund you. Give me more. And, so a lot of crypto places, I mean, look at the NASCAR, the Daytona 500, they all wanted to know, what company are you from? What's your company? Right. But Hex is a little bit different than any other even crypto company. So
wait, so that was an example of
of the game theory being, the timing being critical, that it would have been disadvantageous for me to make that public observation earlier than I did. But once so it's kind of an issue of responsible disclosure. Another example we could give would be,
can I add on to yours first real quick?
Please.
That was a good call, Maddie. I did not expect DOA to sacrifice for Pulse Chain. I didn't see it coming until you brought it up, and then it was out there in the community. What's interesting about the timing and the game theory for the OA was it waited until the end of the bonus bonding curve, and it didn't sacrifice until the last 3 days when it was a flat bonus. So what the OA basically said was, if you sacrifice in the beginning, especially the first 5 days, the OA said, I'm not going to mess with those bonuses. You guys battle it out. I'm going to sack at the end when I don't affect those bonuses. So I think from the OA, that was perfect timing for the game theory to sacrifice on their part.
Yeah, I think it keeps it fair between all, you can call them normal users, normal participants. You have your bonuses that you earned from your volume multiplier versus every other normal participant that isn't like the founder, basically.
Yep.
So I think that's fair. Otherwise, everyone else's bonus would be like,
Exactly.
you're like, oh, I got 1.01 and you got 1.02, and you is like, that would be super dumb. You would get a lot of hate for that one.
Yes, exactly.
So you're still proportional fairly to every other normal user. So yeah.
In the real world, if somebody was doing an initial offering and then they diluted the whales by 20x by coming in with, you know, getting 95% of the supply when the whale thought that they were going to get a huge percentage of the supply, that would, you know, heads would roll in the real world. But
good thing this is no expectations of I am curious what the whales do think. You know, I haven't had a conversation with them.
Well, we can see on chain that they liked being diluted so much. I mean, this is brand. I mean, this is never, to my knowledge, happened before economically. Like, this is a brand new game theory that's playing out that we've seen, that they loved being diluted so much with the pulse chain sacrifice that all of the top addresses sacrificed even more for Pulse X.
Yeah, because it's a good strategy for everybody, right? It's a win-win. You know, the OA maintains their, you know, primary position as the #1 wallet, which is good for price, you know, and it also allowed everybody else to compete fairly based on how much economic power they brought to the table during the sacrifice. So yeah, it was a win-win for everybody.
And there's no reason to sell the coins that they own such large percentage of, because they have all that. Like, as long as the space keeps being developed by this team headed by Richard, they just can sell basically anything that's not like their coins, because they don't want their coins to underperform. They want them to overperform versus the rest of crypto. How do you do that? By not selling your coins. So you don't sell them, you hold a large majority, the market cap looks crazy, and you keep developing new, better systems in crypto. So, oh, Ethereum's trash? We're making it. Okay. So then we get all this funding. It's basically funding. Goes to this address. They can use the stuff that's not Hex, which is like 500 million. That should be enough, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you build whatever you want with that.
Yeah, and then it's like, all right, we're going to develop this amazing DEX. We need a DEX on our chain. Okay, here you go. Oh, maybe we'll build anonymity. Maybe we'll build a wallet. All that stuff needs funding, and you need to pay good developers. Like, you don't just wish it to be done and hope someone does it decentralizedly. It's like, this is kind of the workaround, best way to do it. So Richard's doing it. I like his plan. It's working out great for us who get into his coins as well.
I agree.
But yeah, did you have one where was that the one that you shared where you didn't share it at like the wrong time? Is that how game theory could have gone bad? Is that what you're talking about?
So that's an example of how, if it was widely publicly known that, I mean, even that Richard or that the OA owned 90 or 95% of the supply of Hex, like, that would have scared away whales. Now, you could ask yourself, was that part of the intention, or was it emergent game theory that just happened to play out the right way, that Richard did not pander to people with Hex when he first launched it? He did not pander to people who were already millionaires. He did not give $2 million worth of the supply to an exchange to dump on people's heads. He didn't spend a single dollar on advertising. What other crypto can say that, right? And that allowed a situation where new whales could be created, because you're scaring off the legacy whales. It's really genius.
Bitcoiners were invited to participate. However, they were only given a small portion of the total supply for free claiming. So that, you know, I mean, it was really just a hook to like a marketing ploy to get them hooked. but there were
Well, it was smart
there are
marketing because
Bitcoin
you could
whales.
say, and you could get it for free because everyone just likes that. They like to hear it was free. Oh, wow. That seems like a fair and honest man giving stuff away for free, you know, because
Yeah.
you can just say that. You don't have to explain, oh, but to get a lot of it, you had to buy it, you know. For marketing wise, saying you can get it for free is genius, even if it's just a small amount. You can still
Yeah.
say it truthfully.
Yeah, it
That's
works.
very important. So, yeah.
There's a billionaire that funds a neuroscience center at Stanford who wait, is it Stanford? It's one of the West Coast schools, who is one of the Chinese investors that in tech who discovered, or not discovered, but like popularized freemium models of software. And certainly like the Bitcoin free claim in the early days of Hex in the first year, you know, that was a really good example of freemium being applied in the crypto market, where the founder did not have to sell, right? Jeb McCaleb over at XRP sold $200 million worth of XRP in the past year.
Get wrecked.
That's
XRP.
crazy, man. That's so crazy.
Okay. Richard
Wow.
didn't sell any. He didn't sell any Hex because he could have
Zero
sold
Hex
his
sold.
Bitcoin or his Ethereum or his USDC.
Not market sold. Is the because
even
you know,
providing liquidity,
you're
but
technically selling constantly.
you don't end up with I was thinking about this more deeply today. You don't end up with 95% of the supply starting from 50% by offering so much liquidity that people are running away with all the coins. Richard has been a net buyer hugely for Hex. If we can trust the blockchain, which we can, that the OA daughters,
that should be the case. You're right. Yeah, it just soaks up more and more over
Magic
time.
carpet ride.
Yeah,
it also absorbs like from penalties. It absorbs some, and then if it never sells,
Yes.
it's basically like burning. It's like, oh, removed.
That's a
That
good
can't be
one,
sell
too.
pressure, because if you give it to some pleb who just got some free Hex because they got extra bonuses, well, if they're gonna sell it for a house, that's sell pressure. So
yeah,
I saw a comment in the stream because I've heard this sentiment before. The guy said, "How much did the OA sack to Sens?" Because I've heard people be like, "Oh, why has Richard never donated to Sens and all this? And why didn't, you know, if he has all this money and he wants medical research, why doesn't he just send him like 100 million or $1 billion or something?" And it's like, have you seen the issues that there are with money when you just throw it at a problem? People just like what happened already with only 27.5 million. There was the whole debacle with Aubrey de Grey. I don't know if we want to get into that now, Maddie, but Feeder got to talk to him. But basically at the event, Aubrey kind of, as soon as that money came in, they kind of like were like, hey, this guy's a problem. He actually wants to do good work with it. Get him out. We're going to repurpose this money because we've never seen this money in our lives, because they're used to like 2 to 4 million a year and they get like almost 30 million. So just that amount of money turned all of his board of directors kind of against him, is what it sounded like, what he described.
Yes.
And that's over 30 million. Imagine sending even more money and that can be repurposed and doesn't actually get work done. It's almost like there's like golden zone of like, all right, it's not enough for us to give up on everything and kick people out and steal it, so we'll actually do good work with it. And then there's like, if you put too much of it's actually game theory. What that is. It's like, if you put too much over here, okay, I'm going to do a bad thing to get some of that big amount, you know. But if it's just the right amount, you'll keep doing the right thing. But if it's too much of a temptation, people will like, they'll freaking like throw their sister in a dumpster to go get that money. Like they'll do anything to go get that. It's crazy, dude. People are desperate for these dollars.
I wonder if it goes like one step deeper, that what I've observed, and this could be totally coincidental, totally tangential, but there's a podcast I watch every week called the ALLin podcast, and it has nothing to do with my channel or my brand. It coincidentally started 2 weeks before I started Hex Therapy, a weekly stream on YouTube. and it's got 4 billionaires on it, and they do an hour each week. It's Chamath Palihapitiya, who is one of the early people in Facebook. You've got Jason Calacanis, who's a Silicon Valley startup guy.
Do they actually talk about good stuff?
David Sachs and David Friedberg. It's outstanding if you want to learn about macroeconomics plus current events with a take of a billion, you know, like from the view of a billionaire who has a team of researchers researching everything constantly. And I highly recommend it. They do a terrible job of covering crypto. It's more testament to how early we are and how much we know.
True. If they're already in, they can't buy.
They are obsessed with Solana because they were early investors. And
anyway, those poor bastards.
Yeah, I know.
They're not smart billionaires.
Well,
not in crypto. Sorry,
I forgot to tweet out that wasn't fair. Oh, well, I tweeted earlier, I guess, that we were streaming, but yeah.
I
think I tweeted earlier.
I pay close attention to what they say, just like I pay close attention to what Richard says. Although I value Richard's accuracy much more, and his strong insights. But anyway, these guys recently have started talking about, they let it slip just a little bit about longevity, this and that. What that tells me is not that they are directly causing corporate espionage to the Sens Foundation, but that there are forces in Silicon Valley that want to get rich, likely off of short-term longevity solutions.
It's kind of an oxymoron.
I know. Well, but
short-term longevity research, that's what we're here for.
Look at every mega corporation. They all make short-term decisions, even though they're hundreds of years old. So, or maybe not that old. But
well, the guy at the top, he wants to look good on each quarter, so he keeps his job, I guess. And then that's why he just doesn't care about 10 years from now, because maybe Jimmy has that spot by that time, and then he doesn't get any credit, even though he set it all up, So it's kind of a shame that we have to be short-term minded because we're only here on this planet so long. But
I've heard
it wasn't the case.
Silicon Valley guys. I've heard these Silicon Valley guys admit openly that a lot of the money in Silicon Valley goes to pay people to not make breakthroughs.
What?
What are you saying?
Which makes sense, right? At a deep level, because you would rather throw money at somebody and slow down their progress than to have to compete with them. So it's part of the anti-competitive practices that are part of the world we live in today, and why we haven't hit the what is it called?
I guess they didn't pay Richard enough.
I know, right?
He's like, I'm making it. I'm doing it.
Because even Aubrey talked about this at the conference. He even mentioned the potentially part of the plan for the board of the directors at Sens. Now that they got the 27 million from the Pulse Chain sacrifice, they ousted Aubrey, and their plan is to use Sens and that money to do their own spin-off for-profit companies and do their own funding and research, and then they're going to literally make profit on it and walk away. And that's what they're going to turn the Sens vehicle into.
I mean, that is what he said. Did he ever explain any more in depth to you why they can't do that? Because that's kind of what Sens also does, is they help start up companies. That's like, it's not like that was new.
Well, it's not new, but now it's like corrupt because they're doing it specifically to fund their own companies that they have.
They're like, I could use 5 million for my idea, and it's like, well,
Whereas Aubrey is he would do that, but like Aubrey's focus is the Sens Foundation and running it as the founder and board of directors. He's the head of the board.
It might be too much money for they'd really have to ramp up what they're doing and have staff to even be able to use all that, unless they have it in reserve for super long or something. Because like, how did he plan to spend all that?
I suspect that the board members will probably be watching this stream, because this channel is the one that has brought this issue to the forefront.
Oh,
It
true.
was the Hex conference where Aubrey took a stand against the board and made private remarks that we won't share here. But all we have to do is look at this. I've been on national not-for-profit boards before, and we just look at this at face value. And there were laws broken when it comes to donor intent, and that's what will be shown through Hexicans signing this donor intent letter.
We should probably put that in the comments, right? So people can see that.
You can go to allmylinks.com/allin, and I just dropped the link. That's where you'll find the top link is the bit.ly/SRF donors, plural. That's the Google form that Aubrey created. I've done it myself because I did donate to the Sense Foundation as part of the Pulse Chain Sacrifice. I filled out the form. It didn't require personal information. It was optional. It took a few seconds. I'd encourage anybody who is a donor to make your voice heard and to take a stand against what is clearly the board going against donor intention. That is why they removed Aubrey. Aubrey is the industry leader when it comes to long-term thinking and investing in the space. And these guys in Silicon Valley or wherever, these venture capitalists, I think they're trying to screw with Aubrey and with the Sense Foundation to stifle innovation so that they can catch up, so that they can profit for longer off of their short-term solutions when there isn't a long-term breakthrough. And so it's really our chance to take charge. And I think that the game theory could even go further if the Hex community chose to start sending money directly to Aubrey on the blockchain. Now, what that would do is it would allow Aubrey in his awesome position of trust, because he himself gave millions of dollars of his own money to start the foundation. He founded it. He has all the connections with the industry leading scientists, and Richard trusts him. His track record speaks for itself. He's kind of like the OA of longevity funding. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well said.
I think I think like his mom or some relative died, and he got this huge windfall of like over 10 million, and he gave like 80 or 90% of it immediately to like
he put his mother's estate into SRF. It's or Sense. It's his baby. Yeah.
So that's something.
And if I'm right about the board's intentions because they would love to get this 27 million caught up in legal proceedings forever. Right?
I hope not, man. That's we got to avoid that.
So that they can stifle. But guess what? I just got a Hedron airdrop.
Okay.
And I don't mind sending some of my crypto directly to Aubrey. I have not even discussed this with him yet, but I'm bringing it up here first and foremost in a public forum for ultimate transparency. David and I have volunteered to do a couple Zoom calls with any of the top donors.
Donors. Yeah. Any donors
have any questions?
Yeah. Anybody who donated to the Sense Foundation for the Pulse Chain Sacrifice. Yeah. Me and Maddie want to help Aubrey get these letters filled out, get these forms filled out, and we're going to send them to the Board of Sense, and we're going to demand that they reinstate Aubrey as the head of the foundation, as he was previously, and we want to get back to business. The Hexicans donated a lot of money, and we voted with our dollars, and we should have the right to choose what the foundation does. So whatever we can do to help.
Doesn't the game theoretically most important thing, wouldn't that be extending life? Because once you get to infinite life, you have like infinite time to do anything else. It's like, is it worth it to go and basically do anything other than work towards enhancing the ability to extend human life. Because if you ever do
Most
get that
psychopaths,
infinite, it's like that's the most important thing.
I can speak to this on a psychological basis. I would, guess that a lot of psychopaths, they would want something more immediately gratifying because they don't have control over the long term, over the scientific progress. All
Oh,
they
yeah.
can control are the people around them with their wicked plots.
Wicked plots. Okay.
Well,
Well, that's not the
psychopaths by
majority of
definition-
people, though. I'm talking about
True.
like game theoretical.
Yeah,
why do we
yeah.
work on other stuff for
As
it?
a society,
Seems like that's
we
the
should be
best.
way more interested in longevity than we are. And
Medicine, living, being with your
it's
friends
not
longer,
popular.
family forever. Like what? That sounds literally forever. That's what I want. That'd be awesome.
It's
Yeah,
not
I just never
popular.
thought it was possible until
Shocking.
like I heard about
Shockingly
Richard.
unpopular, right?
Yeah.
Like even Elon Musk and Bill Gates, which Richard has talked about many times, don't believe in it, don't want to fund it. It's like, well, why? You know, he talks about
They'll
Steve
switch
Jobs.
eventually once they start feeling old. Maybe Bezos is doing it. He came out publicly. He's like funding a startup or something that has to do with it. So
did you hear about that? The news a couple months ago. Yes, Bezos is looking toward longevity now that he's kind of retired from Amazon. Good point.
A couple of months ago, somebody was screwing with our guy.
Which guy?
Aubrey.
Oh,
yeah. I don't think it's an accident. I don't think it's an accident that all of a sudden a bunch of venture capitalists are interested in longevity, and then the top long-term longevity guy gets ousted. They are trying to stifle innovation, and that's my main like call to action is that if we really want to disrupt their plan, it's not about the 27 million. Like that's great. We can sign our donor intent letter and like get them in trouble like legally, and I don't speak for Sens and I don't speak for Aubrey, so I'm just postulating here and speaking freely. But to really disrupt their whole plan would be to keep funding Aubrey what we would be funding Sens. And so David and I are going to meet with Aubrey tomorrow on a Zoom call, and whatever if you invested a lot into the Sens sacrifice, check your email, and you might have an email invitation to come talk to David and Aubrey and I to help explain why you might want to sign this letter. Now, the 10 million top sacrificer, the person who sacrificed 10 million, already signed something on the blockchain saying the same extent as the Google form says that that the board is going against the donor intent, and that they support Aubrey as being the one to allocate the funds. Personally, for me, I wanted to give to Sens yearly anyway. Once I found out about it, because I have gotten almost a year older now since the Pulse sacrifice happened, like 9 months, something like that.
Yeah.
But I've gotten many, many times richer, and I want to take a little bit of that, and so I'm kind of like openly, like volunteering right now. Like for me, like my small amount that I've got liquid, I'm still willing to give $5,000 directly to Aubrey on the blockchain. And we can talk about the Hedron airdrop if that's, where some people want to, get money from, like I did. I had avoided talking about Hedron for the same reason as I gave the example before, that I didn't want to really talk about all the details of the OA sacrificing for Pulse Chain and diluting everybody. Like I didn't think it was the right time. And then I said a bunch of stuff that was like not in the right context. I forgot that everybody would be watching my channel to hear about the conference stuff instead of like the devoted people who had already been listening to 300 hours of my thoughts, and would not freak out if I said something alarming, right? And that's never my intention, to alarm people, to cause people any harm. You know, at the end, this is free speech. It's not my decision, you know, what your financial decisions are. But I'm really excited to go into a lot of the game theory that's necessary. But I think also it'd be okay for all three of us if we kind of agree, if there's like, you know, if there's an injection point where we're like, oh no, maybe we shouldn't be talking about this in public, like we could just have a kind of a signal, and then you know, and then get to it, get to it on the next episode after we've thought about how it would impact. Because just like the you know, let's take an example that's not relevant to this situation necessarily, but like, you know, the time Bitcoin had an inflation bug the last time, right? That was in 2017. The Bitcoin Cash developer found it, like responsibly disclosed it, right? And that was like, that's game theory kind of. Because the game theory would have predicted that he would have, the rational actor would have minted as many free Bitcoin as they could have.
Either that, or you open up a huge short and then you post it everywhere on the news sites, like, oh, Bitcoin has an inflation bug, it's going to 0. And then you'd just be like, woohoo, free money.
Yeah. And he was a Bitcoin Cash developer
time to fix it either.
Like, I'm shocked he didn't actually go out and do
Working
it.
for the other team. Yeah.
Why would he not? That would have been the ultimate play, is to exploit the inflation bug.
Not
and then launch
game theoretical though, because
right?
it's not fully, because obviously getting money illegally, now you're a criminal. So
it's not illegal. The code is law.
Yeah, if you think code is law, but like,
that's a good point.
Has there ever been an inflation bug that people were like, code's law, that guy totally earned it? No, everyone's really mad at that guy. No one thinks it should work that way. No one thinks that it wasn't intentional from the code. It's almost like it's like finding a loophole in the Constitution that's like, oh no, really, I can kill people. It says right here. It's like, no, you really can't. Sorry, we have to reword that, and then it's back to business as usual. Killing people, be a cop or join the military.
Everybody. You can kill all the people you want. That's totally legal in the Constitution. There you go. If that exists, yeah.
Like if you find it in there, obviously it goes against the intention of everyone using that is part of that community / network. So it's kind of like, you know, it's bad, and so you're going to be looked down upon by all of society if you do it. And so unless he was really feeling like being that bad guy, you know, it was smarter to disclose it, and then he gets that renown. Nobody knows who he is, so I don't know.
I know, right? I feel
like that guy did not play it right in any regard. He didn't get any renown.
Your guys' example there even is like a really good example of, you know, the Constitution says don't kill people, I think.
I don't even know if it does. Is there any law that says don't do that?
Yeah, you can't kill people. It's against the law.
It might be a law, but like, is it in the Constitution?
No, it's not. The Constitution is the Second Amendment. We can have guns.
It's murder in whatever degree it is. Okay.
Yeah, they talk about murder and whatever, but yeah.
I guess the point though is that we do now scrutinize police officers at the social level. It didn't have to be written into the code because we do it at the social level. That's an interesting like dimension that I was wanting to play with when I ironically proved to myself that the Hex social consensus layer did not want to hear about how in the end it's up to the social consensus layer, when I said the crazy stuff about the OA emergency and staking everybody. So needless to say, I learned my lesson.
I don't know anything about that, so I'm in the dark here. I don't know if you want to explain further. Does Feeder know what you're talking about?
Well, me and Maddie had a great conversation after that video Maddie made, and we went on a Twitter Spaces and actually debated it, and you know,
for like 6 hours.
So you debated for 6 hours and are still friends?
I didn't stay the whole time. Yes. I had to go back to work, but I was on lunch break. But we had a good chat though for the first hour, and you know, I agreed with Maddie philosophically, like, because the question was, you know, does Hedron break the idea of, you know, that truth engine, that making that 555 commitment to yourself? And I agree philosophically it does. You know, Hedron gives you the ability to sell your stake before it's due. So psychologically and philosophically, yes, it breaks the game. Now, on the counter hand, technically, from an Ethereum ERC20 token perspective, it doesn't, because the hex is still locked in the stake. That the stake doesn't change. The stake is just transferred to a different wallet. So it depends how you look at it. You know, it's
the same.
depends how you look
Yeah,
at it.
it's a similar example. Like, you know, if the code says you can do it, is it okay? And it turns out it's okay,
it's like sending, not
because the
selling.
community will tear you to shreds until you admit that. And
well, the community was just upset because I think, you know, the concept of, because here's what you could do, right? Like, here's where I think you were going was, if the community wanted to, let's say the community really did not like Hedron, you could fork Hex. You could make a new smart contract copy of Hex and then remove the Hex from all the wallets that ever claimed or minted their Hedron. And that you could just, it would be literally another smart contract on Ethereum. That's totally doable. That is literally possible.
Another doubling.
That could happen. So then you've got Hex minus or something.
That's normally really bad, because you split your liquidity and you split your buy pressure forever, and you get infighting that causes just negative externality in general. You've got people who are now trying to gamble both sides. You know,
it's only that to the extent of how big the split off community is. It's like, if it's half, then it's okay, you did split it in half. But if it's like 1%, then okay, then you have like 1% defectors. It's not, it's only to the scale that the people were into that other thing.
And so we're thinking historically, we're thinking Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. We're thinking Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV, those forks. We're thinking Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. These are, you know, the textbook examples now of major forks that go unresolved and represent truly new, you know, more than just a price split, but truly new directions, ideologies, roadmaps, communities, etc., that are defined as separate.
Yeah, and typically those other forks, like you mentioned, they go down forever. You know, where in the original remains true, right? You know, like Bitcoin Cash. Like, look at that chart versus Bitcoin. Bcash is down forever. You know, and Bitcoin does its thing. So I completely agree with you. It would not be wise for the community to try to fork, because you probably wouldn't get that consensus. You know, people would still stick with the original.
Well, isn't it weird? Isn't Ethereum the original? Like, it's the we're the fork. So
that's true. So technically, Ethereum Classic is the true Ethereum,
and that price isn't looking too good.
No, it's not,
because it said that the person who created the inflation bug could keep the coins.
Mm-hmm.
That was the difference, was rolling back on what we now know as Ethereum. Actually rolled back the chain to give everybody from the it was
consensus.
DAO.
Consensus DAO.
The DAO hack. I think that's why Richard finds it very important to the naming we use for Hex on Pulse Chain. You know, having those extra abbreviations or suffixes makes people think, oh, this isn't the OG. Like, if our Ethereum was called Ethereum Classic, you know, it's a bigger mouthful, and you're like, oh, are we a fork or what's going on here? But everyone thinks it's the original, even though it's not. So whenever we go to Hex on Pulse Chain and everyone calls it that, we're going to think that's the original. All the new people coming in are going to think that. So it's smart.
Before the exchanges have picked the winners, or the nodes or the miners or whoever everybody's listening to decide who gets the ticker, during a contentious fork, you have project names. So in the example of Bitcoin in 2016 or 17 or whatever, you had Bitcoin Core, and that was what one team was calling themselves, and then the other team was calling themselves Bitcoin ABC. I guess they wanted to be earlier in the alphabet, so that maybe they would get the top spot that way.
That's funny. And probably that's some game theory right there.
It did not work out for them. Yeah.
And
they had to try a little harder.
Our new friend who spoke for a minute at the Hex conference, Roger Ver, aka Bitcoin Jesus, was at you know, he was at a crossroads there, choosing which team. Richard had to choose a team. You know, everybody had to have their position. Were they going to try to trade it? Who were they going to support? Who were they going to signal to with their economic and mining power?
It's funny you say that.
Oh, go ahead.
That was one of the, I just want to say real quick, that was one of the first Richard Hart videos I saw. Was an interview with Richard and Max Kaiser. Well, they were both Bitcoin maxis. This is back when Richard was a Bitcoin maxi, and he was on Max Kaiser's show, and they were talking about how the Bcash fork was coming and how they were not a fans of it. They wanted Bitcoin Core. They wanted to stick with the OG. They didn't want the fork. So that's old school.
And so understanding like how the game theory plays out, especially during consensus disagreements and forks is really interesting. There was something called the New York Agreement, which is where I believe, and David will correct me, a bunch of miners invited all of the non-miners there, but didn't make a big deal out of it. So like not many of them came. And then the miners ended up deciding that they wanted to basically increase the block size and create this like arbitrary, division within the community. It seemed, I mean, was hard drive space, or like, the size of your operation, was that really the problem? The block size, was that the problem? No, I mean, it was more being not ASIC resistant and that sort of thing. They couldn't agree on any of that. They couldn't agree even on what the proof of work, what the work was, right?
Even what they agreed on did not get implemented.
Yes.
So, it was that like useless. Like nothing happened.
I would argue it came down to game theory and politics and social consensus to decide which Bitcoin became the primary one. And there were certain people who really, picked the wrong side. Jihan Wu, right? He wasn't the CEO of Bitmain?
Yes, he was. Yes. You know your history.
I used to order ant miners and flip them on eBay. So.
Dude, I thought about doing that when I first heard about Bitcoin and I was getting in 2017. I was like looking up ant miners. I was like, what, you just plug this into the wall or something? That seems silly. It's like that. There's no way that's good. I was like, you get like nothing. I'd rather just buy this stuff while it's still cheap. That's what I did. I didn't like do any of the back sourcing of like, oh, is this better than mining? But it turns out it was. That was just pure luck that I bought coins instead. So worked out.
Can I tell you guys a ridiculous story? This is like
no ridiculous stories.
Deep in my origin.
We don't want to get you banned, Maddie.
So I was bored one Saturday morning. And so I checked my email, and I wasn't in the habit of like waking up early on a Saturday morning and checking my email. Like, that seemed like work to me, and that wasn't the time to work. Anyway, it was just this one Saturday I woke up, I got an email from Amazon, and it said, I'm sorry you purchased fake solar eclipse sunglasses, and we need to refund your entire order, but sorry, we're not going to send them to you because we don't want to get sued. So basically Amazon had created an overnight ban, a moratorium on all solar eclipse sunglass sales because their legal team had realized that this was a huge liability, that everybody was going to go at the same time. You guys remember probably the solar eclipse of, was it 2016?
The one that Donald Trump stared directly into the sun for? Is that the one?
That's the one.
He was like, ooh, yeah, it's hot. Oh, yeah. And everyone's telling you, like, you shouldn't do that. It's like, dude, that guy's too manly to care, I think.
Well, it's the first time the eclipse came totally across the United States for the first time in like 10,000 years.
That was a good one, right?
It's going to happen again in 5 years.
10,000?
Like the odds of that are super rare as well, of course. But
oh, sweet.
Anyway. Yeah, it's this is our millennium or whatever. So I went to the store and I saw piles and piles of solar eclipse glasses for $1. And I said, hey, I know how to use eBay. So I got on there and I flipped solar eclipse glasses for like 10x for the next like 4 or 5 days. I was just like going back and forth, like Walmart, and the post office was across the street. So it's like,
wow,
really
nice.
easy. And I really got addicted to that, like that little like sales thing that I had never done before. You know, I had sold an old iPhone on eBay before, but I started this huge business to, you know, based on my experience at the time, like it was huge. You know, I did like $10,000 or $15,000 worth of solar eclipse glass sales.
Nice.
And I, you know, like I still feel good about it because there were a lot of people I could see where I was shipping to. Is like these rural areas. They didn't have a Walmart. You know, they're paying $10 and they get to like not go blind, right? So
That's
a
a
good
good
don't call me an
investment.
eclipse profiteer. Don't give me a hard time about that. Anyway, like, so I was just super addicted to this retail hustle that I just discovered. And so that's when I was searching to myself, like, what's something else I could sell? And I was looking around at my interests. I was like, well, I'm into Bitcoin now because the price of Bitcoin had surpassed the price of gold right around that time. And that's what put Bitcoin on my radar. It went higher than 2,500. And so that's when I learned about the AMP miners being a good flip on eBay. And so I downloaded an app that would monitor the website and tell me when any changes happened. And so they had put the release, because they would release the AMP miners in these batches. They would release them randomly every every few days, because they knew people would try to buy them and flip them. It was like this huge supply and demand problem where people didn't know how to buy from Bitmain with like crypto, the people who were wanting to buy on eBay. So there was like a 5x to be had. And anyway, so I got like all this experience understanding, you know, just sales and you know, kind of like my first online marketing, that sort of stuff.
Have you shared that story before? Because I never heard it. That's pretty cool. Nice. That's pretty sweet. A little gig you'd had there. Yeah, my initial, I guess, trading experience was inside of World of Warcraft on the auction house. So, so I was dude. That's how I made all my gold. Because that was just natural for me when I got into crypto trading. Unfortunately, I did some trading. I mean, I did pretty well for a while, but you know how it goes. Then you got to find something and hold it for a while. Whereas,
Oh yeah.
That's a great place where I learned too. The auction house in World of Warcraft, even in for Hedron, where you can buy the liquidated stakes in the future. I lovingly call that the auction house, right?
Oh.
That's where you go and you bid on them. You know, you can see all the bids. So, but that's a great way for kids to. That's how I learned, man. 10, 20 years ago, however long it was.
Yeah. It was a good time. Back when I used to play video games.
Yeah, you learn supply and demand. You know, it's like even those ant miners. You know, there's not a lot of them. People want them. You know, Maddie's smart enough to know how to use crypto to get the AMP miner from Bitmain. And then people on eBay are not savvy, and it has a huge demand. Therefore, they're worth 5 times as much on that website. Boom. You found a great niche. You found tremendous profit.
How long did that window last? Where you could just keep doing that? Because
it was very risky to me to be like buying these things. And so even for me to send $2,000 or $5,000, I didn't want to do it too often. And so I would, but when I went back for more, I could always get more because nobody else had figured out. You just download an app that's going to check this website to see when it gets updated. And they were posting in the middle of the night, and they would sell out in like a minute or like 60 seconds or something. Right. And so you're trying to get this blockchain transaction to go through and you don't know what you're doing, and you learn very quickly. So, so I think like, you know, I rode the wave. I did it for about maybe 4 to 6 months. And in that time period, maybe I flipped 20 units, and I was on average able to buy them for like $1,000 or $2,000, but the price kept increasing. And then eventually the market fell out on eBay. And so I even learned, let's see, I strayed a little bit and I went into like something called like a SIA miner, and it was being released for the first time. Like, so this was an opportunity to go from like 2,000 to like make a $8,000 sell on eBay. But it turned out the guy like ripped me off. He realized that the market was collapsing in that new coin, basically, because they send you the miners right before.
Oh, wait, I remember SIA coin. Isn't that like a storage coin? It was like a hard drive space. That's what they were about. SIA coin. Is that what it was for? It was an ASIC specifically for that. I'm surprised.
Yeah, they had their own like proof of work algorithm. So what an ASIC is, it's an application specific integrated circuit. And what that means is that the chip is designed to only do one operation and to do it much more efficiently and many more trillions of times per second. And so that's like, when we think of like a computer, it's like CPU, central processing unit, then GPU was the next leap forward, where your graphic have a graphic processing unit, and it's able to process multiple streams of data at the same time. So you're multi-core at that level.
Yes.
And then you go to ASIC, is like a leap forward, but only for this specific thing.
Yeah, custom made for that one job. Yeah, because even today, the NVIDIA graphics cards, people still use the software you're talking about that check the website. They even auto purchase the graphics cards as soon as they go on sale.
Really?
So a human, you can't even be fast enough to buy them. Best Buy, Amazon, Newegg.com, they're constantly sold out. Then you go to eBay, they cost double, sometimes triple, because people still mine Ethereum with them. So even Ethereum mining farms, they're buying every NVIDIA graphics card they can get their hands on. Yeah, still happens to this day.
So it's, you know, as somebody who did that a limited number of times during a specific period, you know, part of me does even still feel bad, right? Because you're even though you're just doing arbitrage, or I was taking a risk, but still the effect was that it made these chips more expensive and more rare because I was extracting profit. It's a negative externality. If I had understood systems level dynamics at that point, I don't think I would have done it. But
not even middleman.
That's right. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I'm kind of against that now. I'm kind of against that.
He learned his lesson. He's reformed now.
You provided a service that they either had no miner or they got it from you.
Well, that's true.
They would have gotten it because I wasn't using it. I was the middleman. And
it happens.
I repent.
It's okay. Yes.
I've done a lot of community service since then.
Many hours.
What was the point of that? I guess to say that, you know, these GPUs, you know, so the ASICs, you know, that also can determine what kind of a consensus network you have, or like what kind of a mining proof of work algorithm that you have. It is application specific to what is it, 256 SHA 256.
Yeah, that's Bitcoin. Yep. Like even Monero is resistant, and they specifically changed their algorithm. So really, it's only CPUs. Like they don't even want ASICs and GPU, or maybe GPUs, but definitely no ASICs.
But if we take a step back, even like at the systems level of what I was doing, I think that this was a really negative force in the world. Even though we love our crypto, we love our censorship resistance, and maybe it's still a good thing that it happened, but taking all of these computer chips and using them to do nothing except run up an electricity bill and have that be the proof of stake, you know, like mechanism that underlies Bitcoin's proof of work, right? Because the miners are staked to their electric companies. They have to put up the most amount of money in electricity to generate the most coins, right? That was Richard's hot take like a year ago or something, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when he started calling it proof of waste. And what I see is that we could have used those billions, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of computer chips, and we could have used those to, like, I don't know, solve the mysteries of the universe, or like, stop aging or something like that.
Just stop aging real quick instead. That'd be sick. Yeah, I mean, repurposing that stuff in the good sense, not the way they're doing it with the SENS funds, but that would be great. If we don't need to waste it all for proof of work, proof of stake will work. That would be amazing. So we're hoping that's how it is with Pulse Chain. We'll see how it goes.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be doing Pulse Chain is delegated proof of stake, and that's the future, because we're going to only use 33 servers, and that's it. There's minimal waste. I'll be one of the 33 wasting, and my electric bill's very tiny, so it's all good. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not like it's
Thank
a
you
farm
for your service.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's not like you're running up tons of electricity for a normal server. Like mining is like hardcore, on all the time, farms of them. It's like that's what does a lot of electricity.
Yeah, because technically the blocks in Pulse Chain, the difficulty is set to 1. So really, the server, that's how we can get these 3-second blocks. Is my server can figure it out almost it's like nanoseconds. I can actually see it. It's less than milliseconds. Yeah, and it's cheap too. So
do you guys want to explain how Hex is a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake system?
I mean, I guess if there's people who don't already understand Hex, we could do that if you want. Maddie ran away after asking the question. Is he there for you on your screen?
No, he had to step away for a sec. So me and you can chat.
Okay. All right. I guess. I guess you stake to earn the inflation. That's the inflationary model. Only stakers get it, and that is not actually through mining or anything. It's just through using a smart contract. And then the proof of work for the transactions to get into, you have to pay a network that does all the consensus to make sure it's on the blockchain. That is, we're piggybacking on top of Ethereum, and we pay transaction fees to their miners, and we get kind of like that, what's the word? Trustlessness for free, without having to pay our own miners in, giving them Hex inflation to get our stuff into the inflationary part of the system. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, like the negative externality of the actual graphics cards mining the Ethereum. With Hex, because it is a separate smart contract, like you mentioned, they're totally separate. We just pay Ethereum gas to start a stake, end a stake, send some Hex. But in Hex itself, the analogy I like, a T-share, one T-share is kind of like an ASIC mining box, because you're going to take your Hex, you're going to lock it up for 5555, and in return, you get a T-share, which is that ASIC, and it will run every day with 0 electricity, 0 waste, and 0 failure for 5555 days. Now, the only problem with the Hex T-share is a Bitcoin ASIC miner probably won't last 5 years. It'll probably burn out before then. But theoretically, you could run a long time if you took care of it, maintained it. But Hex T-shares, at the most, can only live 15 years, and then they expire. So that's kind of interesting too. There's a shelf life that you set yourself. It's, you pick how long you want your T-shares to last. So in my opinion, I'm a Hex miner. I love mining. I love mining all kinds of stuff. So that's why I go 5555. That's how I get the most bang for your buck.
So I think, like, just diving into some of these explanations, I think they're useful because they're technical enough that even the audience here that is at the expert level, still doesn't mind hearing how we play off of each other and, present the content, and then are able to establish the base of knowledge that allows us to move even further, right, into the unknown. So
true. Speaking of unknown,
please,
we got potentially version 2.5 coming out shortly, soon. It's syncing as we speak, according to Richard. And it's not just his Odyssey account, it's also 2.5. He made sure someone else was like, this is confusing because he responded to this guy in this thread, but it was HODLdog's question of asking, when's 2.5 coming out for the test net? And then Richard made it clear that it's actually both are happening at the same time. So also people should probably follow Richard on Odyssey if they haven't already. I actually just started syncing all my stuff over there because why not? It takes no effort pretty much. And
it's free.
Yeah. It only does videos up to 2 hours though. So if you ever go over 2 hours, it won't.
Yeah.
And some other stipulations. There's some other stipulations. Yeah, you're wrecked on Quant Gang or whatever. Get wrecked, dude. I saw that and I was like, oh, well, I do have some, but not a majority of my videos are over 2 hours. Thank God.
Yeah. So I think it's Odyssey, ODYSEE.
That's right.
.com/Richard Hart. And go ahead. And if you don't have an Odyssey account, go ahead and make one. It's free to make one. And then I think if you even like videos and if you watch videos all the way till the end, you earn the library credit for free. And it is a real crypto and it does have value. And you just earn it by watching the videos. So it's really cool. I love Odyssey. You know, I use it. Randy Halarski uses it. Randy Halarski actually got me into it. He's a Hex OG.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's really good because it's Odyssey. Even if YouTube goes down and we get censored, Odyssey will never censor. And the company that founded Odyssey, called Library or LRBY, they're currently being sued by the SEC, and they're in a battle right now.
Is there no one at the top to like defend it? Is it like the web hosting can be taken down or something, or what? What are they going after?
They're trying, but there's nothing to go after. Odyssey's like, you picked a hell of an opponent, dudes. We have a decentralized YouTube. Good luck taking that down. Like, it's decentralized.
That'd be amazing if it I hope I have like trains nearby. I'm gonna mute for a second.
Yeah, so definitely everybody should go check out Richard on Odyssey if you haven't, because that's going to be his backup now.
Awesome.
All right, sweet. Think they went by. Well, the things I'm most excited about for the 2.5 to look at is Richard said Pulse XDEX is done, so we'll get to see the whole front end, possibly do some trading. We're going to get our initial balances. So we should see like our very close, like 99.9%, probably your initial balances for Pulse and Pulse X, I'm hoping. And then
if you sacked, you should see what you're going to get.
If you sacked. Yeah.
And if you see a number that you think may be wrong, if you go to like pulsexlead.com, and if it looks way off, say something on Twitter or in the Telegram dev chat. If you're supposed to have a big balance or you had some sack, but you got nothing or it looks way off, say something, please. And the devs.
Yeah, I was supposed to get like 5 trillion coins. I don't know why they're not in my wallet.
Yeah, totally. Then we look you up in the dev chat. We're like, no, you don't. You're gonna get 10,000. We get out of here.
Put $1 in. Win 10 trillion.
And then don't respond to everybody who messages you saying that they can help you.
Right. Just send them your seed words.
All the scammers. We don't share our seed words with people.
Yes.
No good. And we don't let them share their seed words with us, because that'd be also a really good way to hack someone.
My dad thinks he's hilarious. He's like, you should start up a company where you imprint people's seed words on a nameplate, and you just tell them, hey, send me your seed words. I'll send back the nameplate with the metal and your words. And I'm like, Dad, I cannot. Even as a joke, I can probably never say that, or someone would actually believe it or something. But he thinks he's funny. That's a terrible idea. Never send anyone your seed words for any reason, ever. So
there's a meme on Twitter
or Richard.
It's like the spot where you write down all the words, and the person wrote in there, just like posted a picture, and so from far away you would be horrified. You'd have to click on it, and then the words say like, haha, I got you to read this. Show my dog coin.
Oh yeah.
No, the one I saw was all the Rick Astley song lyrics.
You got Rick roll,
like hilarious.
It's like, did I set up my Trezor correctly? And then you see the piece of paper. It's like, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down.
New age Rick roll.
That's funny.
But maybe we'll get to see that incentive token and yield farming on 2.5. That'd be cool. And I'm also hoping
Yes.
that they can run the AMM bot for all version 2 liquidity. Maybe they can just leave the NFT part of V3 out, and that's what they're going to wait for V3 for, to run that. So still kind of, I mean,
I think you're correct. Yes.
yeah. So I'm hoping we get to see kind of like the initial, what maybe some pools will look like, because really what the pools should look like afterwards, after they include the V3 liquidity, it'll just be the same ratio, and then more coins in there. That's it, in my opinion.
So what we've seen already, I believe on the testnet, is people playing around with prices to make them look really good. And so I think the price of Hex on the testnet was like $1 or something.
Oh, well, yeah, you can, yeah.
So
You can probably do whatever you want, but it'll be interesting
something
with
really
real
high.
values.
And so I would argue that the game theory is that the whales should be in there screwing with stuff to make people think it's going to launch better than it will, which that's cool. Like, let's make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. No problem.
I'm sure they're going to check what their balances look like, because they're going to be like, yo, I know what I'm supposed to have. You know, when you're throwing that money around, you make sure what you're getting is what you're supposed to get. So
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if they move some of their money around on the testnet, you know, test it out a bit.
Yeah, I would expect a lot more transactions and a lot more people using the testnet as soon as this patch comes out. And as soon as this patch comes out, there'll be an update on the GitLab, and then I'll update my validator, and I'll obviously be tweeting about it. And I'll probably even make a video too, like the day it comes out, and I'll show off whatever I can, you know, like do as part of the demo.
Yeah, and if there's yield farming available with maybe incentive token, like I've seen, like they have a lot of stuff done. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got to see some stuff like that. Maybe we'll get to see some of the buy and burn working. I'm hopeful about that.
That would be wild. There are so many like opportunities here for people to signal what they're going to do. And for those of us paying attention and broadcasting on it, I can't wait to see what's in store, that both of you guys are going to stream on your channels, and we'll be able to come back if you guys will have me, you know, weekly, and, you know, discuss how this stuff plays out, as long as we can all get along and disagree with each other amicably and have really good academic debates where we only hurt the audience's feelings and not each other's.
Okay.
You know,
then,
then we'll get to see, like, we'll get to see how all this stuff plays out and have a commentary on it. I would urge everybody, we have 300 people watching. We have thousands watching on the replay. Go to the description below and follow these two fine gentlemen. This is not the end of the show per se, but I want to interrupt the broadcast and tell everybody to subscribe to David Feeder and K4K in the description below. Please.
Appreciate that.
Does YouTube care if I upload the same video to my channel or not?
Well, I think
they got mad at me for doing it at the conference, but it was like up only's video of Richard. But like these other people, like Kareem's new show that's been going for 13 or 15 weeks or something, like they upload on all their channels. So there may be some reading you could do to figure out why one's okay and the other one's not.
As long as the owner of the original video doesn't do a copyright claim, should be fine. Because they have to
manually do it, otherwise it's fine. Okay.
No, there's a new like issue. There's a new algorithm in town.
Duplicates?
Because
I can't monetize on two channels at the same time with the exact same video. Because I was wondering if music channels did that, where they're like, oh, I'm gonna just make 10 of these channels, different names, and you upload music, song, non-copyright or whatever it is, and then you can just advertise, put monetization on all of them, but you can't do that. This
is important for all the streamers watching, which, I mean, there's like hundreds of Hex and Pulse streamers out there now. My channel got taken down. Like, you still can't find the first half of the Hex conference in Vegas because they slapped me on the wrist so hard
really?
And it was,
I didn't know they removed that all.
They like showed me the statistics of because it was my first offense, they said otherwise it would have been so serious that I would have been banned for a week because I played a certain percentage of this Richard Hart interview from ALLin. And I have on my channel before,
from Up
I've
Only. Okay.
played super long streams, but it had like commentary going over it. Like we were all watching, you know, some of Richard's speeches together, you know, when we were already doing a super long 10-hour stream, but we were like doing commentary over it, which is like, I think, okay. Or like if you're only playing a certain percentage of something. But the worst thing was when you go to the link to that original video, it says that the reason it was taken down was because of like replicated streams or scam, like financial scams or something. It's like,
or scam. That's
what?
totally
Like,
separate issues.
that's
Or.
a totally separate issue. Let me see if I can find the screenshot that I took. But it was really strange. Like the algorithm's just like trying to flex a little bit more.
Do you still have the original footage from that day that could be trimmed and then rebroadcast?
So I've still got it on Twitter and Twitch. Maybe it's saved, but on Twitter it's saved.
Okay.
And I have it saved myself, but I'm scared to even upload it again to YouTube because it was such a general complaint that they had against me that I was just, I was playing content that had been played before anywhere. They weren't specific at all.
Yeah, they're like a terrible company.
I mean, even Richard,
no support.
Yeah, just got unbanned today, right? And we don't even know what happened to his. No reason why. No, Richard doesn't know. All of a sudden, it's back a week later.
I was gonna start doing a daily live stream until he got his channel back, but then it came back today, right when I was deciding to do that. But I was like, all right, I should probably stream and do more videos anyway. But oh well. There's so much content that's about to start coming out with V2.5 or V2B, whatever you want to call it. So I'm super excited to show people that, because a lot of people were like, hey, how do you liquidity farm or yield farm? And so it's like, well, I can show you on testnet. That'll be nice and easy.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. Yeah, you'll be one of the firsts too. It'll be fresh content, so that'll be nice.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot for giving me. It sounded sarcastic because every time someone says thanks a lot, it's like a rib. But you actually helped me out with whenever I was trying to stake some stuff on the testnet, and you sent me like 5,000 test pulse. So thank you, David.
My pleasure. Always happy to help.
It helped me out. I still have them going though. I haven't checked their actual rewards. It's probably like this much pulse. Dude, pulse validators are not going to make a lot, dude.
Nothing, dude. It's like, it's dust.
It is a labor of love.
Yeah, it's a hobby, not a living.
It's okay. You can just stake your Pulse X and never sell it and make huge gains.
And you know, if you over the years, right, 5 years, maybe delegating could add 10% to your bag, 20%. Yeah. So over the long term, I'm bullish, but short term, under a year, yeah, it's not much.
Yeah, you're gonna need a lot of a price appreciation for those numbers of pulse to be worth anything, you know. Because I have some, I don't know. There's like, I have 2 different models for how much fees are gonna be, like how much fee accrual will be on Pulse Chain, because it's really weird because we have the same exact block space relatively. You know, our gas limit could be a little higher, could be a little lower, but we have the same block speed and blocks per day. Like you only have a limited amount of blocks per day. It's not like we're going crazy here. And so we only have like 5x more than Ethereum does. 5x. I don't know why he was saying 4x. It's literally 5x. You just count the blocks. It's because we're the same as Binance Smart Chain, and they only burn around like 5,000 BNB a day. So for them, with their token price, that's actually like it's like a couple million or something dollars. I don't have I have it all written down from days ago, but
a couple million roughly
dollars, dollar-wise. But it's only 5,000 BNB. If that's what it takes to fill up the block space, I don't know, throughout all these days. So whenever you transfer that to Pulse Chain, well, we can fill up the same block space with the same amount of pulse. So if there's only 5,000 pulse per day, that's like 50 cents. You get 50 cents
Or
a
like a
day,
fraction of a nickel, or like a fraction of a penny. Yeah. In the
like for the
beginning, it'll
whole
be
day.
nothing.
So I'm like, okay, then are we gonna have, are we gonna be paying multiple pulse because the Gwei price is like insane? I don't know, like to get up to some dollar amount or
Well,
some cent amount total as opposed
the
to a unit of gas amount. It's I think it's just gonna be very cheap fees because you can't have super cheap fees and have huge value accrual by the people getting fees, because obviously if you're paying cheap fees, they're only getting no fees because there isn't very many, right? You can't have it both ways. So I'd rather the whole network benefits from everyone paying super cheap, and unfortunately the validators, they don't make much. That's kind of the trade-off. It's like, okay,
Yes.
validators don't make much, but everyone pays like nothing because there's such a huge supply of the gas coin, and so you're paying like nothing. That's what it
Yeah.
seems like.
It's dust. You're right. And in the beginning, it will be like dust. It will cost a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a penny to end your hex stake, send a PRC20, do anything on Pulse Chain will cost like literally almost nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
To use the
Sure.
network, we would want it to be as cheap as possible. That's kind of the problem with Ethereum, is like it became a store of value itself. And so the price is so high to use the network. You're like, oh, send money to friend. Oh, you were sending $10? That'll be 40. That'll be
Yeah.
40. You're like, that's not correct, right?
Yeah. You're better off using PayPal. You're going backwards.
The cost for censorship resistance has just been way overblown. I mean, it's greed, but when we look at it, you know, people's behavior to say whether somebody is, you know, a greedy bastard or an angel or something, like people's behavior, I would say, is not determined by whether they're a good person or a bad person. It's based on what their game theory is in their environment, what their environment dictates their game theory should be, right? And that's what we see in psychology when we really drill down into predicting human behavior. Is you look at your people, places, and things determine whether you become a drug addict or a scholar. It's not some magic thing inside of you. It's your environment, and so that's one view in psychology. And where this relates to the issue of fees, and what I would predict on Pulse Chain is that how do you get the greedy stakers that are, you know, you have to stake to be a validator. You have to be in the top 33 of validators to get counted, to stop double spends, and to charge fees, and to make everything work really well. And how easy is it for the OA to come in and remind you who's in charge and take away all your fees anyway, right? Because they would have 95% of the supply, except it would not be in the OA's best interest, or whatever we're going to call it on Pulse Chain. It would not be in their best interest to run all 33 operators. But if they could provide the incentive or the punishment, basically, that your spot gets taken away if you're charging too high of fees, it's another check and balance on the system. What do you guys think?
Well, there's already checks and balances built into like the system. If they do something wrong, they get removed from rotation. Like
if they allow double spend or have downtime. I'm talking about like they're
what else could they be doing that's bad?
Taking too high of fees.
They
could take too high of fees.
I think that's automatic.
100%, and you would just not get delegated anything. Who cares? They can do that.
Well, I have another question, I guess. Do you mean
they can't increase like the fees of the network? Like
when I register my validator, I determine how much of the fees I share with the people who vote for me versus how much I keep as a validator. Is that what you're talking about?
So and that's the total rate is probably in the end set by all the validators who are deciding what code to run anyway.
Yes, and I think by default the default code is similar to Ethereum, where it's a bidding for gas. Like gas prices are determined on block space available. Mm-hmm. But the real game theory for the validators, and I think you touched on it, is when you register a validator, when you sign up, you pick how much of the fee goes to me, the validator, and how much do I give back to everybody who votes for me. That's going to be huge in determining who you want to vote for. Because maybe I'm only giving 50%. You know, maybe I keep half the fees and I give half to everybody who votes for me. Okay, that's what Richard's 3 validators default in the test net, because Richard runs the first 3. He has to like spawn the Genesis block. You know, he has to bring Pulse Chain to life. So Richard does the first 3, and then guys like me, the validators, we attach our servers and download from him. And then we pick, am I doing 50%? Am I doing 60, 70? And that's going to be a game theory battle in and of itself. That's a battle between the validators to give away the most fees, but still try to be profitable if possible.
So it's the top 33, but remember, you can vote for yourself. So it's really the top 33 people that have a share in the system that if they want to be validators, they can vote for themselves, and then all the little people don't matter as much.
Correct. That is possible. Yes, absolutely.
So
no, thankfully, I don't think the top 33 wallets have the, well, excluding the OA, I would assume the top 33 wallets may not have the technical expertise to run a validator, but who knows? Maybe it'll be extremely competitive. Because even on the testnet, there's only 32 validators right now. We don't even have 33, and there's nobody waiting in line. There's no 34 or 35 out of rotation. So I'm not even sure what to expect, to be honest.
So I can come along with my Pentium 3 processor
and Pentium.
Yeah.
Dang. See, the thing that was weird about my research into, like, I don't think there's ever been that I've seen a blockchain where the gas is so plentiful at this scale. Like, I was comparing it to Binance Smart Chain, trying to figure out how, I was going to figure out how much were validators and delegators going to get in Pulse. I was like, yeah, that'll be a cool video. And it was like, okay, well, we have 850,000x more supply than them. But the coin, you pay in the coin's like units. It doesn't care about the dollar value. So if we fill up the blocks with the same amount as they do in BNB, say it's like 5,000, it's 5,000 pulse per day. That's not a lot to share between anybody. It's nothing. And so I was like, well, if this really does solve fees by just making it so plentiful, why doesn't Ethereum just do some sort of stock split where they're like, all right, everybody who owns Ethereum, you get 10 million little Ethereums per one you held. It doesn't, and then so the price goes down 10 million X, but you own 10 million more. So if that really solves it, why doesn't Ethereum just do that? I don't know what they're doing. Or it's something else I'm missing. Like, it doesn't, I don't know why they don't do that. If this is like the solution, like Binance Smart Chain, they have more throughput, but not that much more than Ethereum. Like, they have probably, because I think they have like between 40 to 80 million gas limit, and they also have like 5x the blocks, and I think that's like 2 times more gas limit than Ethereum, and then times 5, so it's like 10x. So I don't know, why doesn't Ethereum just increase the amount of units? Then you have more gas that's cheaper. Like, it literally just creates cheaper gas. So I'm not sure why they don't do that.
That's a great question. I have no idea either.
Get Vitalik on the phone. I got something for him.
No, don't give him sauce. No, we got to beat him to it.
Call him up. Call him up. We got a plan.
He's our competition.
Skip ETH 2.0. We got this. Oh, Maddie, I don't know if you lost connection, but your screen is like blank, and I only heard something.
Static. Yeah.
All right, Feeder, we have to talk about your beard until he gets back.
No. Let's keep going on the Pulse chain. We're doing good.
Let's
talk about the cool shit.
Okay, Maddie's back. Welcome. What's up?
Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your lips were a little off with the words, but maybe it's fine.
My computer's freaking out because I was using a power cable that's not strong enough.
Really?
I left my chargers in Vegas.
Oh,
so I've been scraping by with whatever like Walmart had off the shelf.
I didn't forget anything in Vegas. Feels so good.
I lost my sunglasses, so prescription.
supply
ones.
chain
I
is
lost
everything.
my coat for the last day, and I went like I
That's
talked
right.
to the
Did you find it?
Found it, dude. Talked to the
Nice.
floor manager upstairs. I was like, because I left it in the conference room, and then I was outside the conference room, like the main conference area, and I was outside there talking, and then I was about to leave to go like to dinner or something, and it was already past 6. Go up to go get my coat to leave. It's locked. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll just come in the next day, and it'll be on my chair where I left it. Nah, that's fine. Come back the next day, no coat in the building. Oh, talk to the floor manager. She's like, oh, I'll check the lost and found for you. Oh, it's not in there. I asked the security guard, it's not there. They said if they saw it, they would have left it. And I was like, yeah, I hope so. Like, what? So then I'd go down to security and I asked them directly. I was like, gray jacket, sunglasses, front pocket. And the guy's like, it's your lucky day. And I was like, no, yes, yes. He said in the description that they wrote in, it literally said gray jacket, sunglasses, front pocket. And so if I wouldn't have described it so well, he may not have found it in their database. So I was super happy about that.
That's perfect.
You guys, I know why they can't fix ETH.
Oh, you mean because
why?
of the foundation and it's a company behind it and they don't want it to be cheap? Miners.
Well, it's basically because retail already bought in and is using it as a store of value. And so you would wreck mom and pops if you fixed the problem, which is as easy as Vitalik selling half of his coins and scaring the market away to cause the price of gas, because gas is based on the price of Ethereum, to make the price so affordable that it can be a world computer. And
well, no, but stock splitting doesn't ruin anybody's bag. You have the same amount of money, just
so
more gas.
If Vitalik drove down the price of ETH down back to $50 because he dumped so much on the market, that would fix the problem of it being expensive to transact on ETH.
Yeah, but that's like the bad way of doing it, I would say. The stock split is where if I own 1 ETH, I now have 1 million ETH, but everyone else also has 1 million times their ETH amount. It's just like you now have 1 million of these little ones, and the supply goes up by whatever amount. So your dollar value is still the same.
It's like the AMM fixer bot that happens on Pulse Chain day 1, and it pumps in a bunch of pulse into all the pairs to inflate it. I mean, theoretically, couldn't Ethereum do a patch and they just move the decimal point? Theoretically. I mean, there must be a reason why they won't. I think Maddie's also partially right too. And that's a reason why they haven't moved away from proof of work.
It would reduce the demand.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, and
that
he is
would
trying to
reduce
protect the value of for the miners.
The
So
miners don't want this to happen. That's pretty much
Correct.
why, I think.
Yeah,
Because they'd be getting maybe the same amount of ETH, but guess what? Each ETH is worth less. But everyone else gets to actually keep their money because you would have so much more Ethereum is the thing.
The holders don't want the price of ETH to be cheap either.
True. I mean, they want it to go up because
Well,
now
no,
they're
it's
just holding the hold.
It's just a stock split. You own, it can be whatever price. You have the same amount of dollar value. Just each one would be smaller. It's like if you own 1 out of 10, you own 10%. Okay, but now if you own 10 out of 100, what do you have? Same exact thing, 10%, but there's more units.
Well, but that's assuming that you can make the blocks bigger, and Ethereum has done that a little bit in its history, but not a lot. And so you have to ask yourself, like, why? Like, if it only takes like my computer here, which like is a good computer but kind of sucks compared to a supercomputer, like it only takes this computer to stop double spends. Nodes can do it. I mean, it's super simple. It's like it's an Atari 4700, like that's Ethereum is like its capacity for doing transactions. So it's not a computation problem. It's that they forced block space scarcity. They forced it in there and it's stuck. And that's what's stuck because of the game theory that people who are holding it want it to be valuable. Now, we can debate and argue if how Ethereum works, because I think it's something that isn't talked about very much and is super important. But I think that Pulse will be different because it gives the validators a different set of rules when you know that the OA could step in and replace you if you're charging too high of fees, and you yourself are incentivized to make it inexpensive to participate, so that the so that the ecosystem thrives, because you hold so much of the coin. But you also hold so much hex and so much PulseX that you're probably like having an overlapping set of users is probably also a super like nuanced advantage.
That's good. Well, absolutely, because even myself personally, I'm big into hex, right? So that alone, just I want my hex on Pulse Chain to be successful. Thus, I am incentivized to be a validator. I've got the skills to do it. So, yeah,
Yep.
I want to protect that bag alone. So yeah, it's incentives on many levels. Yeah, and even for me, I want to run the default image from the head des of Pulse Chain. I'm not altering it. I'm not changing gas prices. I'm not doing miner extracted value. I don't even want there to be a chance that I'm going to get slashed or get a misdemeanor or a felony. Yeah, I don't want any part of that. I'm doing plain vanilla, playing by the rules.
You bring up a good point. I wonder if there will be any miner extracted value in our system where it's like rampant in the other systems, even in Binance Smart Chain, and they only have like 21 validators. So some of those validators are doing miner extracted value. I wonder if we'll have the same issue.
I do expect some validators on Pulse Chain to get miner extracted value. Yes.
Really?
Man, I hope not.
Yeah, it is possible. Yes, they can because they write the blocks, right? They mine the block. If they're clever enough to write the software, they could change the block before they write it. It's possible. Not likely, but
isn't that most valuable when you can when you can see all the transactions that are going to occur, so you can like basically arbitrage stuff as it's happening. But
that's correct. Yes, the validators can see that.
But the interesting thing is, like, if the block space isn't so limited, then I think you've got more competition. If there's more competitive space, right now you have to have ASICs and you have to stake your electricity versus having a stake of like the actual base layer chain.
There's also the problem of rotation. I think the big thing is even if let's say I'm trying to do miner extracted value, right? And I'm gonna reorg somebody's transaction, I'm gonna front run them and get some money. It might not be my validator's turn in the rotation because it goes around in a circle.
Yeah. That's
so
right.
I might
That's
have an
how they fix it.
opportunity,
Yeah.
but it's not my turn, so I can't do it anyway.
Yeah,
So
it's like you gotta really get lucky that they're doing it on your validation, and then you can extract it. But yeah, I mean that just means every 30 or what is it, every 99 seconds you can do some miner extraction.
Correct.
Yeah. You're like, oh man, watch out for Feeder. He's gonna extract me again. I'm waiting. The next validator.
I promise I never will. I don't want any part of that shenanigans.
That's interesting.
Unless somebody, I mean, if you're taking too much miner extracted value, MEV, then somebody with a bigger stack of pulse and more votes is going to come along. They're going to compete with you and they're going to put you in check. I don't think that exists on Ethereum because
they could lose all their votes. If we shout it out in the community too, if I say, hey, this validator on the website, he's doing miner extracted value and he's changing blocks and doing goofy stuff. Yeah, we'll just rally the community to stop voting for that guy and he'll drop down on the list and we'll knock him off the list. That's totally possible. Yeah, that's how this works.
Yeah, we fixed it.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe we can community-wide like complain about some of these validators or something.
We can have a website that even ranks the validators and we can put comments on it and we can catch them doing stuff and look at the blocks that they've changed. Absolutely. All this is possible with social consensus. Yep. And then you can even have a website that shows if this validator does miner extracted value. It could be like a yes or a no. Yeah, this is all possible.
And you could link it to the blockchain when you say that they are doing it. So you could have definitive proof right there.
Yeah, exactly. Proof's in the Etherscan, right?
Not rumors.
Hey, did you guys experience any hate while at the conference?
Not at all. No, I had a great time. Every Hexagon I met there was absolutely lovely. It was one of the best times of my life, to be honest.
Dude, same to that. Yeah, for sure. No, that was an amazing time. Like I expected that answer, but I was just curious if you guys, do you guys experience hate in your direct email or anything like that, or messages? Because I
lucky.
mean,
I
'cause
don't.
that's something like we're in like a bear market, so I'm not surprised our channels don't grow. Like it's gonna grow more in a bull market, stuff like that. So we gotta
So
be ready
this
for
is
that.
super unintuitive, okay? Like, but I can describe to you how I did not make the correct predictions and got the most hate. So, doing a giveaway, okay? Totally unintuitive. You would think you're giving something away, people would be grateful. Absolutely not. I gave away 1,000,000 hex from Ski Cat at the Vegas June meetup, and it was, I almost quit at that point. The amount of hate that I got.
Yeah, I still have my
Okay.
raffle ticket, Maddie. Where's our raffle at? I forgot about that.
Shh, you have a rug pull on that. Shh.
Oh yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah,
What did I say? I don't remember. Delete it.
No, that was the smart move to give people a raffle ticket and then not have a raffle, because
Oh, was it?
proves my point.
Oh, hilarious.
I'm much more popular because I did not give anything away. So
Oh.
again, like, I'm learning this along with you guys. The people who came before me, they told me, but they didn't say why, or they didn't like convince me well enough. So I still fell for it. Okay. The giveaway, like,
lesson
debacle.
learned. It's hard. Giveaways are hard.
Then,
Well, the weird thing is, like, the percentage of hate you'll ever have is always low. The percentages compared to all the other good stuff you have, but then as you grow, the nominal amount of people still increases. So if you have 100,000 people that follow you, you still, if you have 1%, it's like, okay, you got 1,000 people. You go to 1,000,000, all right, now it's 100,000 people. So, or is it 10,000?
10,000 out of 1,000,000
10,000.
is 1%. Yeah.
Right. So
Still a lot,
10,000. So you 10x how many real life people don't like you, even though it's the same percentage. So it's like a weird thing that, you're gonna deal with this hate. Like it's gonna grow. So it's really important to your mental fortitude going forward with all this stuff. Maddie, I'm sure, is like, I'm a pro at this, dude. Like, because you've been doing this longer than me or Feder, right? Making videos and stuff like that.
well, I've been weekly for a year and a quarter, and it's the majority of the time I sailed through no hate.
It always comes.
So it was the giveaway. Like, I can definitively say no need for a counterfactual. It was the giveaway. And then there was some other stuff that happened here recently where the hate dial turned up from 0 to 9 or 10, which was speaking ill of people's free money. And I want to bring this back to Pulse, because if people are so upset if I say something mean about their free money, then imagine how excited the entire Ethereum ecosphere will be when people try to speak ill of Pulse Chain and it's given them free money and they're all in on that, and they roast anybody at the stake who speaks otherwise. That's probably a good thing for us in the long term.
True that.
Yeah.
But
because even in the Pulse Chain community, over the next year or two, there's going to be a lot of projects that are scams. There's going to be a lot of rug pulls, and they're all going to target the Pulse Chain community. All of them. They're all going to be after us. They want your pulse. They're going to try to get your pulse, and it's going to be up to each of us individually to pick sides and either talk about a project or not. And that's a personal choice that everybody's going to have to make along the way. There's going to be winners, there's going to be losers, but it's just the way it is. So it's going to get even crazier.
Yeah, it's interesting because this time around, our Genesis wallets, or anyone who got into these sacrifice phases, it's a bit different now with how much you can do with DeFi. So you actually can be like an active whale now, as opposed to back in the day. If you were an ETH Genesis whale, you just held it and did nothing. Because if you bought anything else, it was probably a scam and you lost money on it. Unless you got really lucky again or something. And so they kind of just sat dormant, and that was the best play, basically. And so other than like no traders are outperforming buying and holding, let's be honest. So
true.
So Nowadays, though, with like Pulse X and Pulse Chain, where you can like delegate it in a decentralized way, part of the network, you're gaining more Pulse, or in Pulse X case, maybe you're earning another token or something. So you're actually able to be like all these whales. I doubt they're just gonna sit on it. They're gonna join in all this yield farming. They're gonna join in.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be lots of active participants, because it's basically like free money sitting out there in DeFi, since it's so new and so early, and it's relatively safe. Maybe some of them will keep some of their bags completely dormant. They're like, there's always the tail end risk that this contract blows up or something, but I doubt it. I doubt that's going to happen. But yeah, more active whales from the Genesis era is what I'm guessing this time around.
I completely agree.
So I would like to repent for all my sins now and advise the audience who I've led astray that it's okay to claim your Hedron, and you've got another day and 20 hours before you lose one of your 8x's and it goes down to 7x or something. And I'm not recommending anybody use encapsulated stakes. I still think that is a super gray area that's filled with too much risk. However, and I'm speaking even, I personally, I would not play around with an encapsulated stake on a wallet where I have a serious amount of hex. And people can yell at me and say that I'm too paranoid, but personally, I think that encapsulated stakes are really bad. We can go into that in the future. Right now, I'm saying it's not necessary to talk about it publicly in all the way down the rabbit hole. But the headline here for people for now is maybe you don't want to miss out on your Hedron free claim, at least that part of the system. The OA claimed it, and my distaste for Hedron has always been based on encapsulated stakes and not all of the fun vampire games that are built on it. And in my opinion, it's these Hedron tokens. I'm not sure if they're going to be valuable or not valuable, but at the end of the day, if you're claiming your percentage, like if you consider what your percentage is of the total supply, you might be surprised that it's important to claim.
Yeah, I mean, and I sort of even predicted this. I think I shouted it out on Twitter. I predicted that Hexicans were going to make more money on Hedron as a free airdrop than on Uniswap, 1inch, ENS, any other coin. Especially now, if you mint your Hedron right now and dump it and swap it to Hex, you know how much Hex you're going to get? A bunch. And you're buying Hex at 80% dip. So literally, if you just treat it like an airdrop, like free money, it's a win-win, And me personally, I do consider myself a beta tester, and I just love playing the blockchain. I want to click every button. Like I've made HSI stakes, I've tokenized them, I've put them on OpenSea up for sale. I've tried it all, and so far it works. Is there smart contract risk? Absolutely. But did I accept that risk? Absolutely. Did I read the audit? Yes. So you got to know what you're doing out here. This isn't for, it's not for novices. You gotta be an advanced user, in my opinion.
One thing that I think would be interesting, I was trying to think about for myself, because I just to go back a second, like I applaud your correctness about the airdrop and your specificity in saying that it would be worth more than the previous airdrops that Hexicans were entitled to. I had no clue how valuable it would be, but my fear was that it would be valuable and that it would take buy pressure away from Hex by incentivizing people to be like holding it and then promoting that just as much as they're promoting Hex, or more so if they want to move up their position. But again, like at this point, since the last time I streamed, on this style of a program, I've had the time after the conference to look into it myself. The OA has claimed now, which wasn't true before, and so that I think the reason why this audience would want to claim has something to do with this mechanism where your bonus multiplier that's decreasing every 10 days from 10x to 0x or whatever is that's something that you lock in for the life of your stake. And so even if, in my opinion, even if you had a 1 T share stake and that's only going to mint you, a couple million Hedron or something,
or 1,000 Hedron per day at a 0 bonus. If you got it at the 10x bonus a few weeks ago, that'd be 10,000 Hedron you could mint a day with 1 T share.
And does the current 8x, if you claim, like that applies not only for all the days that have already been served, but all the days going forward that will be served?
Correct. So you'll get
even after that multiplier like disintegrates, like to
Correct.
new users, like you're assigning that stake to get that high rate that's only available now.
Correct. Yeah. If you had 1 T share and you mint your Hedron today for the first time, you'll lock in 8,000 Hedron per day till the end of your stake. Correct.
And even if you have a small stake, such as 1 T share or half a T share, I think, in my opinion, even if your T shares are, even if the gas is going to cost you $10 or $20 and the amount of Hedron that you're getting is $10 or $20, that stake is 5, 10, or 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
It might still be worth claiming now while you're getting the 8x multiplier. Even though it doesn't seem like you're getting that much in Hedron now, you're gambling on that multiplier being worth something in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, it's worth the $20. You only mint a nickel's worth of Hedron today, but man, what about in 15 years when your stake is due and you mint your Hedron on the last day right before you end your stake, then you sell that, then you sell your hex? That could be a lot. It could be a lot of money for hexagons out there, and this is for hexagons. You can only get Hedron if you have T shares or B shares.
Yeah.
Is it correct that? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I made a video on Firebun's original wrapped staking. He made a Medium article. I made a whole video on it, explaining it because he had some diagrams and stuff, and he explained it on the Staker.app Sunday show. And when I was listening to him, even like Gerardo and Huddle Dog were just like, they were like, what are you talking about, Firebun? How does this work? So I watched the video a few times, him explaining it, and went over his explanation of his rendition of basically Wrap's hex stakes. But in their system, in the way he did it, there was no new token involved. It was you can buy parts of these longer stakes that have like an older T-share rate is basically how it worked. So you could go back in time and get a better T-share rate at basically your only downside was you can no longer emergency end stake, but you also had basically no end stake pay later. It was basically the cost of an Ethereum transaction, the way it was set up. So you had basically no cost at the end of the stake. You got in at a better T-share rate, and you can only buy positions in those stakes with hex. So hex is like, it has to be bought and it cannot be like sold. It basically locks in people for probably max length stakes, whatever the length of the stake was that someone created that they wanted to slowly lose their position in over time. They basically kind of allowed these hexes in, or I guess they'd be shares because it's in a stake, to be bought up over time as their premium went by. And so I thought that was pretty cool. It didn't seem like it was net negative or anything for the system. If anything, it added more
Don't say optionality. Don't say optionality.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say you have more. Now that's all I can think about. No, it was more like it actually limited people in what they could do after they joined that. Like if you wanted to get last year's T-share rate from a year ago, you can't get it. But in this system, with these wrapped stakes, you could, like a year from now, if I created one now, you might be able to get today's T-share rate in a year, which would be amazing for you, right? You just have to buy enough hex to get that position that would have been required at this point, but you'd be a year from now, if that makes sense. So that'd be super cool.
Yeah.
But your only downside is you can't emergency unstake anymore, which is like, all right, that's probably good. You know, people
Yeah.
can't emergency unstake these stakes, and you can get better T-share rates by going back in time, basically. And it allows the people who created those original stakes to slowly exit out of their position.
I think Firebun might implement a front-end GUI for this smart contract in a future version of Staker Wrap. This might become a feature.
Oh, as opposed to Hedron or something? Because I heard it was like one of those two.
So this is very much in the area where I think it's not best for me to weigh in publicly.
Oh, is this the signal, Maddie? Is this the signal?
Yes.
We don't talk about
I was thinking we could call it like
Got it.
86, like in a restaurant when you're out of something, 86 it. But
Gotcha.
But I think that like we're onto something here when it comes to like not necessarily even getting into the game theory of encapsulated stakes, which I'm confident that the three of us will be able to do at some point. But even if we're just looking at that free claim of Hedron, which has a deadline in 1 day and 20 hours from now, can we all agree that it's safe to claim your Hedron?
I think it's safe, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can claim and mint, definitely. And
yeah, I just tell
absolutely.
people just claim it and then you wait till the end of your stake. Does anybody know if you claim it, you end your stake, can you still always go and mint your Hedron no matter what, since you've already claimed? Or you have to do it before the last day and before you end stake? Is it something stupid like that?
So you gotta, like, let's say you claim today, you lock in that 8x bonus forever, right?
Yeah.
And then you serve out your 5555. You have to mint your Hedron before you end the hex stake.
Hilarious.
If you end the hex stake without minting the Hedron, it vanishes and it disappears and you wait.
That's so dumb. Why would they do it that way? I guess it has to be.
It's the only way it can work. Yeah, because when you mint or claim your Hedron, it literally looks to the hex smart contract and it says, "Hey, do you have a hex stake?"
Can you look at the snapshot of it like a day before or something? How can it not do that?
You just emergency ended your Hedron.
Because if you don't do it before because Ethereum can't look back in time. When you pay the gas to mint, that's the moment it checks because you got to pay for it. You know, it's just like hex. You mint your own rewards. Same with Hedron. You got to mint off of a real stake, and if it's already ended, it's not a real stake anymore.
Interesting.
So it punishes the people who don't know the rules really well.
If you forget,
somebody's going to do that. They're going to be like, oh, right, 15-year stake. Woohoo! I'm a multi-billionaire already. All right. And I got Hedron coming too. Oh, wait, where's the Hedron? None. You get nothing because I already ended my stake.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a problem 15 years from now. I'm sure nobody will remember this.
That'll happen.
Hey, Maddie, it is coming up on 2 hours. You know, we probably shouldn't go too long, don't you think?
I agree, and I just want to double down on this correction here that timing is everything. So for me, I claimed my Hedron. I'm going to take a percentage of that. I'm going to give it to Aubrey DeGray and not the Sens Foundation. I'm going to talk to Aubrey tomorrow in our Zoom meeting and ask him to set up his own MetaMask, and David will be there to make sure that I don't pull a fast one or something. And just kidding.
We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be fun.
Even if you gave him $10 million, he can't do anything really with it because he has to run it through the.
Not if I don't want a tax benefit.
Through Sens, he has to run it through Sens.
If I don't want a tax benefit, he can deploy the capital immediately.
Yeah, no more Sens. This is like another fund to like fight Sens now.
He'll just make a Sens too.
If there are other people in the community who also want to give to stop this nonsense of getting Aubrey stuck, because to me the real calculus here is that they're delaying the long-term important research that's going to have these breakthroughs in 5 to 10 years that cause our cells to be able to repair themselves. This is the guy who himself donated the vast majority of his millions of dollars into the foundation and into the cause. He is, not like all the other venture capitalists or people who are highly motivated in the space, which makes him the OA of longevity research. And so David and I will talk to him tomorrow. We'll see if he's on board. And then I'm going to send my $5,000 and we can announce on this channel what that would look like. For me, I don't want to be a negative externality to Hex. So I'm pleasantly surprised that the Hedron is, there and able to be sold to fund longevity research. And it's a win-win.
Maddie loves selling Hedron.
Hey, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm keeping
There's
some
nothing
too.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm keeping
it's
some
an airdrop, guys. That's what it's there for, man. It's free money. Like, take it. You can hold it too. Do whatever you want, but don't be shy. People were hating on Hexo for dumping and cashing out. It's like, what? It's like a year's salary, man, for free. Why would you not take that?
It was crazy. Did you see what he compared it to whenever he did with the Uni airdrop and how it worked out for him? So he's working from empirical data of how it's worked before.
Yeah, me
he
too.
Did better buying Hex, and that's what he's doing again this time with his airdrop, as opposed to holding the airdrop. So
yeah. So anybody who's I don't care if you're holding Hedron, dumping it, do whatever, but it's free money. So that'd be a shame to let it go to waste, right?
And this is to me a chance for us to literally make the world a better place this week, is to send a message to the Sens board to say, we know that you're not using the money as we intended, as the donors intended. That's the thing that could be done for free. Everybody can go to allmylinks.com/allin and follow the link so you can fill out the form and share your donor intent. We've already had 40%,
really,
at least,
good
of
job,
the funds claim their intent, because
that's awesome.
The $10 million donor claimed publicly on the blockchain that their intent was to support Aubrey and not the board.
Are you including that? Because that's already like 30%.
That's why I said we've already got 40 without me even knowing any of the other.
All right, but still another 10% on top is pretty good.
And we're going to help the rest, right? Anybody else who donate the Sens, we're going to help you fill out the form, so that way we can make things right. We can help Aubrey. That's what this is.
And while we're at it, we can not only send a message to the board, I think, that they're not going to be able to use those funds because, I'm not associated with Aubrey or Sens or anything, but I imagine legal action could be taken because it's our funds, our community. We're the donors who had the intent. So it's pretty clear cut to me. And but then we could take it a step further and we could show them that if they are in fact out to stifle innovation and to stop the progress of Aubrey's work, that I would be willing to donate $5,000 now to, from my Hedron airdrop to get around that and to put the money in Aubrey's hands so he can put it in the researchers' hands immediately to keep the work going. Because for every year of Sens research that we lose, we're losing millions of years of human lives.
Yeah. It's like immeasurable how much it could cost.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't think about it like that. Whoa.
Aubrey needs to get into a position where he can remove the people who backstabbed him.
Yes.
Like that needs to happen. He can't just be like, okay, now I'm in charge again, but let's work with like nothing happened. No, those people are just gonna do some crap again. They can't be trusted, obviously. So find the wolves and get them out. Get them out.
We will help Aubrey retake his throne. I'm confident.
Yeah.
Awesome.
To use the funds as they were intended, which is the only legal use case.
Right. We're literally battling for good here.
but you're not going to tie up Aubrey's reputation. You're not going to damage his reputation so he can't fundraise anymore, and then hold his $27 million in your stupid legal battles for years and years, and hold the field back 5 years so you can get to your next little payday with your startup funds, there in Silicon Valley. Like, we're not going to let it happen, because guess what? We're in crypto and we're Hexicans and we know what's up.
That's
so
right.
That's the game theory of, the Sens situation. And I can't say how awesome it's been to speak with you guys on this first episode. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
super fun.
It's a
It was
pleasure.
Maddie put this together, pulled me into the boardroom, and he said, "You are going to talk to me." And I said, "All right." So no, but dude, awesome conference you set up. Had an
Thank
amazing
you.
time. Just all the parties, all the conference, just the people I got to meet. You set it up. I wouldn't have met the Fed over there. Wouldn't have met him in person. So dude, it was the best time ever being around.
Yeah.
Is that how the first conference was? I wasn't there. So was it as awesome as this second one? It was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to the next one for sure, wherever it is. Maddie's house, confirmed. So yeah, it was really great being on this with you. So thank you for the invite. And I'm glad. I was so happy when you were like, "Yeah, David Feeder's going to be on it too." I was like, I have to be on it now. So I was very excited to speak
Always
with
a good
both
time.
you awesome people.
Thanks everybody for the super chats and for following along. I think that everybody can agree that, this is a really important topic, the whole game theory side of everything. And so thanks to Paladin and everybody else who did a super chat. You guys rock. Hopefully we'll be back next week with even more intros and one-liners and game theory for all.
All right. We're peacing out. Bye, everybody.
Until next time.
All right.
It's good seeing everybody.
Bye, Hexicans. Love y'all. See ya.
Thanks, guys.